Alright, let's overreact to Summer League for a bit, mainly with the top 5 prospects. I want to start with Chet because I feel like he's just the most divisive guy right now. Yes, the Kenny Lofton post ups did happen, and yeah, that's part of the deal with Chet. At the same time, Kenny Lofton Jr. was like the perfectly sized guy with the perfect type of game to go at Chet, with being shorter, lower center of gravity, put his shoulder into him, that whole thing. Of course, Chet is not going to have to deal with that every single night in the NBA. Also, if the jumper for him is real, then sometimes it's not going to matter because he might just play the other guy off the court because he spaces it out so much. Or if you really need to and you want to play him with another big guy, I think Chet can play that help defense role effectively. But even with all that said, yes, he did get beasted in the post a few times by Kenny Lofton Jr. In that very same game, his rim protection was also great on the guards. I mean, the amount of possessions where guards either had to take a floater over him, and maybe they still make it, but it's much better than a layup or whatever, or they just keep dribbling around the paint or pass it out or whatever. It was a lot of times. In the most recent game against the Rockets, it felt like Houston was pretty spaced out, and so Chet was not able to just plant himself right in front of the rim. He kind of had to help from the corner or whatever, and the timing was still really, really good on collapsing to the basket, but getting there just in the perfect amount of time to where the guy's committed to the layup, you can contest it, you can block it. Stuff that when I talk about it, it sounds just really basic, but not many guys just have that second nature timing on help. I also love the double-handed blocks from Chet. There's something about him that's just really, really cool. As far as Chet's offense, the thing for me right now is his screen setting is kind of a mixed bag. There are some screens he'll set where you can tell he goes into it and he really means to set a screen. And when he does that, he can get the defender on his back as he dives to the rim. And there was one that led to him taking a turnaround after he forced a switch. And he missed the shot, but it was like, okay, that's something you can build on, right? Forcing the switch, get a good turnaround jumper, or just something around the basket. But then you have these other times where he goes to set a screen and he just gets like no contact on the defender at all. And it'll lead to almost nothing happening on the play, or there was one specifically where Giddey's defender had to do almost nothing to get around Chet, and I'm not sure anything really happened out of the play. So again, if Chet can just have those good screens and really force the guy he's screening to be like, oh crap, what do I do now? That can open up some good stuff. There was also one other play involving Chet that I wanted to make note of. It was a play where he was at the top of the key. Giddey threw it to him, and then Giddey acted like he was going to set a down screen for whoever was in the corner. He faked it, he went to the rim, and then Chet just hit him with a really nice pass for a layup. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. He did also have Jabari Smith guarding him in this game, and I guess this can be the segue to Jabari in this one, as well as talking about his first one a little bit. Then we can get to Paolo. So, Jabari, to me, rebounding and defensively, he was good in this one, but did miss a lot of shots, and I did think there were times where he was forcing it a little bit, whether it was taking a contested mid-range or a turnaround or whatever, and I get it. I mean, you can go through the guy's college scouting report on YouTube or whatever, and there's times where he's making those shots, and he made a couple of them in this game by the end, so maybe I should just say, it's fine because he's going to be good at them, but it did seem like they were happening like a little fast, and it wasn't just like turnarounds. Like there were a couple of threes with the defender in his face, and I think part of that was maybe guys were egging him on to take those shots, but also, and I'm talking about his team, like encouraging him, not the defense daring him. You would not dare him to shoot. But what I'm saying is like in the first game, it felt like there were times where he just wasn't getting the ball enough. Like the one clip I remember was he had good position in the post and the entry pass was just bad and it led to a turnover. And this is the interesting thing to me, because with Jabari, I'm not questioning the jump shot, I'm not questioning the defense, or that he plays hard. We know all these things are a yes. What I'm questioning is his place in the offense. Because, of course, while he can dribble, you're not going to just run a bunch of screens with him up top right now. You're going to want to run some off-ball actions, and then from there, he can make the next part of the play, whether that's taking a couple dribbles and then taking a pull-up or, kicking it to somebody, whatever it might be, right? But that still means you need to have that emphasis, and I feel like in Summer League, you're not always going to see that, so I felt like Jabari had the mindset of more so of like, I'm just going to have to take him like this sometimes. And it led to some shots that you don't really love. And I would just hope that when the actual games begin, that it's just a little more sophisticated with like Jabari Smith down screens and that sort of stuff. The few jumpers he did make looked really nice, though. I will say that. All right, let's get to Paolo. He's so freaking good, dude. There were just like a few buckets in this Kings game. I know he didn't make every shot. There were at least like one or two 15-footers in the baseline where I was like, I don't know if I love that shot. Although he did make a turnaround at the very end before we got to the super epic double overtime thing. But what I was gonna say is like there were like his second bucket of the game. He sets a screen, gets good position in the post, puts his shoulder into the guy. I think it was like a drop step or something. That was a dunk. He had one where it was like an ISO where right after he crossed half court, he just a couple moves, then just straight line drive dribble with his left hand. And he just has this great burst as he finishes at the basket. Of course, you know, he had the game-winning pass, and he also had another one where he was operating along like the high post, and then he had a cutter or whatever it was. He had like that over-the-head pass that went around Twitter a little bit. He's actually just really, really good. Now, with that said, one thing that was interesting is when the Kings started helping off of the wings and like reaching in on him when he was getting right into the three-point line, he did have some trouble with that. It did seem like he didn't know that was coming. And even on that very last play where he got the game-winning assist, they almost stripped him off of that. And that was not the only time that happened. So that's immediately something to work on. And the amount of turnovers he had in this game, those still matter. He's not perfect. But I think when you see his poise and just the shot creation, and it also seemed like he has already become the leader of this Magic Summer League team, I feel like you got to feel good. Let's get to Jaden Ivey. The burst off the dribble is real. The first step is real, all that. To the point where sometimes he actually gets himself in trouble. Like there was a play early on where he beats everybody down the floor and he actually trips because he's going so fast, and he would have had Killian Hayes for a wide open three in the corner. He made the pass, but because he slipped, the pass was off by a little bit. There was a missed layup like that as well, where it's the same thing. He beats everybody down the floor. He's got the shot, and then he's just going so fast that he just kind of like clanged it off the backboard a little bit. So, but you also get those moments where in just like the blink of an eye, like he's bringing the ball up court, he's around half court, and then he just snakes his way through like two defenders. I mean, that was, I think, like two straight buckets for him late in the game. He also had one where the defender was hedging on him, or just maybe it was going to be a trap, whatever. And he just splits the two defenders perfectly, Dwayne Wade-esque style, getting himself a layup. Like, he has those moments where it's like, oh my God, there's like three dudes in the whole league who can do this. He also made a couple threes. We love that. I will also say that he had a number of times where he would come around the screen and he's just going 100 miles an hour right away. And it did lead to a couple of drawn fouls, but I could see how that could also lead to moments of like just dribbling into traffic and you kind of have nowhere to go. But then you've also got times where I remember it was like super early in a possession where he got a screen on the, I guess, his left-hand side of the court, and they were trying to switch on him. The Blazers were looking to switch, and he was so fast that he just outran the switch, and then he got a layup off of it. So that's Jaden Ivey. That's the experience. Let's talk about Keegan Murray finally. So the thing that you have to be most optimistic for if you're Sacramento is that Keegan, at least so far, he doesn't seem to be like a, this is no disrespect to Otto Porter, but I'm going to say he's not like an Otto Porter in the sense of you're a great shooter, but we also would love if you shot a little bit more. Like, he's ready to take shots out there. On top of, like it was advertised, the dude's looking to cut. He's had at least one or two great cuts off of the corner already. I mean, let's put it all together. Between the size, the movement off ball, you've got the handle that's good enough to make something happen, even if you're not going to run like a whole lot through him. You've got the shot, which I keep saying it, like he's really ready to shoot out there. That's intriguing. That really is, if you're going to have him as a wing. Because some wings, I'm going to say it again, like they're out there, but they're only going to take it when they're like super open, you know?